Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Desi Crypto Show. Today we have Streamr Network with us, and this is a very interesting project because they are doing a lot of things with data, and we'll get into this. We have Mathew and Marlene with us, and we'll start with their introduction. Let's see what they do and what they're building. So, Mathew, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Matt Fontana, head of ecosystem at Streamr. We're headquartered in Zug, Switzerland, the so-called Crypto Valley. And yeah, my day-to-day work is finding what's called protocol market fit for our Streamr network, our decentralized data infrastructure that we're building.
Awesome. I will get onto that. What does that mean in future? Like just
Sure.
right now. What about you, Marlene?
Yeah,
Just give
hi
us an intro.
everyone. Thanks for having us on the show. My name is Marlene. I'm in charge of crypto relations, which basically means PR, investor relations, also helping out a little bit with the ecosystem building and also in charge of events. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, guys, before we get into the project, I would want to hear your thoughts on like the blockchain ecosystem. What do you think where we're going, and what excites you the most about it?
Big question, big
Yeah.
question. I think like most exciting part for me is the kind of forking of blockchains at the moment, the multi-chain universe that we're approaching right now, and we're sort of in the infancy, and we saw it a few years ago where we could kind of see the future of all blockchains was to be interconnected, and this multi-chain universe where blockchains have a sort of particular use case or a niche that they track. And yeah, we kind of see that unfolding now with the crazy gas prices that have happened on the Ethereum mainnet. This has really sparked a lot of this innovation towards bridging, towards these L2 solutions, and it's all coming together. And now the gas prices are record low all of a sudden. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What about you, Marlene?
I think I'm mostly excited about Web3 and sort of the use cases which are still coming up. And I think it's like still really early days, right? We had like DeFi summer last year, but I think there's still so many other cool use cases which we'll see. Like I'm really excited about when blockchain is not only getting infused into finance, but also into like social media apps and like how we're hosting our data or like video calls like this one. I'm really excited to see this like on a Web3 app instead of like a decentralized one. So yeah,
Yeah, that
instead of a
sounds.
centralized one, I mean.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand. That just sounds. I think it will happen way sooner than we expect.
I
Like
hope so. Yeah,
that's
fingers
the
crossed.
only thing. Yeah. All right. So let's get on with it. What is Streamer Network in the simplest term you can describe?
Simplest term I can
Yeah.
describe.
Yeah.
That's going to be tricky. So it's,
Yeah.
I guess, like the metaphor perhaps is that we're sort of like Filecoin, but for real-time data.
Uh-huh.
So if I'm allowed to unpack it slightly in a more complicated way, it's sort of like a massively scalable, decentralized pub sub protocol for real-time data. It's very hard to compress it into
That's
something simple.
yeah. All right. No problem. That's fine. So I think I'll ask a better question, right? Why are you building Streamer? Like that's something we'll get more context, and then we can go on like what you guys are doing. Like
Yeah, I think there's two main reasons. The first is ideological. We want to create an alternative to the centralized cloud infrastructure that you have to use today in the Web2 world. So if you do want to build rich Web3 applications, you can't really just pick and choose and use from Ethereum and then, use Amazon, AWS, and Google for something else. It's not really decentralized. So this is sort of what we're building is sort of like a missing piece of the puzzle, a missing protocol that offers decentralized real-time data to rich Web3 applications. And the other compelling argument for why we're building this is that it is going to be very much far more efficient than centralized alternatives. So in terms of comparing the two solutions, you have Google, Amazon, you have the massive data centers that are just sitting there and churning away. Our solution will be that you can activate your latent devices, activate your latent bandwidth, and start mining it and creating this decentralized network that will be very efficient in scaling and using what is just kind of there and not being utilized at the moment. So we see big advantages in speed, in cost, and in robustness.
Very interesting. So I would just like to sum it up and ask you if I understand this right. So you're saying that people like you and me can use our devices to mine on the Streamr network and like provide data or run some kind of nodes, and that will make the entire system decentralized and we can earn some rewards out of it. Is
Exactly.
right? Oh wow, that's that. And you were saying that this will be better than the current centralized solutions we have.
Yeah, between centralized and decentralized, there's always pros and cons. But as far as, you know, we're here having this conversation, we've all drunk the Kool-Aid of why decentralization is so important and valuable in
I understand.
In this new world. So
I guess it comes like with the sort of typical decentralization arguments, right? Of like uncensorable and unstoppable. So
that's extremely valuable, right? Like even if there is a competition, it's way good for our entire ecosystem. That's awesome. So again, like I want to understand who can use the Streamr ecosystem and who can benefit out of it. Talk about companies, talk about blockchains, talk about any projects you think can utilize Streamr network and why they should do that. I understand decentralization, right? But what are the use cases?
Yeah, so perhaps the first one that comes to mind is a recent announcement we made. We're working with a company or a startup called Nifty Chat, and they will be connecting NFT creators with the consumers of those NFTs. So decentralized chat is like a very much organic first use case of the Streamr network.
Hey, that's very interesting because if you know Gary Vaynerchuk, he had he literally said, like, you know, if you could bridge this gap, it's like $1 million idea. So maybe you should reach out to him. Right? That's quite interesting. So what about like the day-to-day traditional companies? Can they use your network, and does it make it any better?
I guess short answer is that we expect it to be. So we are kind of in this path of progressive decentralization. So during these summer months, we'll be hitting our first decentralization milestones where anybody will be able to run a node and mine their bandwidth. So at the moment where we can't kind of hand on our heart say that, yes, this company, install Streamr Network and it will have this, it'll be this, it'll envision where we're working towards that. We're 3 years in and a few years to go, but in the next few months is like the big watershed moment where we're really kind of, we can stand behind the network and these principles of decentralization. That's Yeah, these big companies, I think, will start to see the writing on the wall quite soon. And usually, the conversations that we have with these larger companies, they're always looking for, okay, what's the price point and exact numbers, and we're just not there yet. So we're running the test nets in the next month or two, and that will give us that initial data that will really be able to spark these conversions, I guess, from centralized to decentralized.
Right. So, so correct me if I'm wrong. Streamr Network started in 2017.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So I just want to understand what has changed since the day you started, and now we are in 2021. Like we have gone through 2 cycles, right? Like, so what was what was your vision that time and how it has evolved? That's something I would like to understand.
Yeah, maybe I can give my 2 cents here. So the initial white paper was for building the Streamr network, and we always envisaged it would take about 5 years to build. It's not like a classic blockchain. It's a very complicated piece of machinery, a Web3 protocol that's incentivizes a certain kind of complicated work of transporting data around the internet. So it's a long journey. We're quite far into it now. So I guess that has sort of been predictable, but perhaps what hasn't been as clear from the beginning was this concept of data unions, which came very early on as one of the kind of killer use cases of this sort of decentralized data infrastructure in this Web3 space. And I can speak to that a little bit if you want.
Yeah, why not? You can.
Sure. So data unions are a way to crowdsource data and pull it together and sell it as a single product. So data, your own personal data is not that valuable, but if you are to combine it with lots of other people's data, then it suddenly becomes quite interesting to many different players, and they would certainly pay for that. And what's missing is this infrastructure that aggregates and stores this data and allows people to come in and purchase access to that data. So this is the infrastructure we've built with data unions, so that when these big companies want to purchase your data, you'll receive a micropayment. So I just want to make this clear as well. So the Streamr network is for mining your bandwidth, so you can earn a micropayment for kind of the role of being the data broker and transporting data around the internet. But there's also a layer above, the application layer, where we're actually monetizing the content of the data as well.
That's so if I have to sum it up, and if I have to so in Web3 we are all about, like, we control our data, and in Web2 all these big social media or like even search engines are like, they have ownership of your data, and they have so many rich data points which they sell and they make money. So I think what you're trying to do is you are giving back the control to people, and it's up to them, right? Like, hey, you want to share your data and make money.
Exactly.
Right? And if you want to do it, you can join in the network and get incentivized, and you are taking all the data and you're combining it. That makes it way more valuable than me as a person giving my data to someone else. So that's
If I can maybe add one more thing. So it's not us who is like creating this data union. So we have created the framework, and then there are projects which are building on top of our stack, which are then leveraging the framework. So for example, there's Swash, which is sort of the first data union on the Streamr stack. It's a browser plugin. You can install it in your browser and then let it just run in the background. And that one will aggregate your data and bundle it together with all the other data union members of the Swash app. And then it does sell the data on the Streamr marketplace. So I think this is also like a very explicit way of giving your consent for having your data being sold, right? Because you have to explicitly install that app. But then at the same time, you also see like how the money sort of comes straight into your wallet, which is nice too. And yeah, I think Swash has now like 45,000 members. That's the most recent number I've seen. So it's like growing quite rapidly. And I think it's really something people are interested in doing, where they have just more control over their data and they can choose what they want to sell, what they don't want to sell. And yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you can just go about on your day and browse the internet, and Squash makes you
As
money.
you always do. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're leaking a bit of alpha here. No, not mention too much more, but yeah, it's true. Yeah, like
awesome.
The idea of Web3 is that you can do the things that you used to do, but get paid for doing them, and kind of have this co-ownership with the protocols that power the internet, which is so much more enticing than the Web2 model, where you give it all away for free, and you get free products in return. But you know, I'm not making billions of dollars, so somebody else is making the money. So this is like a
positive
better way of
network. So awesome. So I have a question, right? Like, I saw your website; it has a long list of partnerships. So tell me about it. What are you most excited about? What is something you can tell us?
So I guess, like, in terms of partnerships, we sort of focus more on who will build with us. Like in terms of partnerships, they can be quite thin sometimes in certain bull markets. So in the last bull market run, all the companies want to partner with us, and we do these pilots, and it's quite interesting. But you know, when the bull market goes down, they all run away, and you know, it's not really conducive to the growth of the network. So what we have really focused on is getting builders on board. So that's certainly like our main focus. So we work with a bunch of data unions that are being built at the moment that will run on the Streamr network. So we can talk about perhaps Tracy, which is quite an interesting data union, where fisher folk are being paid for their data, and and it's actually, like, I think the idea came from a hackathon actually, but it sort of spiraled into new partnerships. So with the WWF and Union Bank getting interested. So I guess my point is that once the builders create things of value, then the partnerships, you know, you kind of have to hold them back, sort of a thing. So
I agree, and I think that's how most of the ecosystems which are growing right now, they focused on building, and they focused on developers, and that's why you have these crazy network effects happening right now after years of building. So I agree, like, that's quite interesting. So how can a person run a node and make some passive income? So that's something I want to ask you guys.
Well, basically, right now, they cannot run a node at this stage, but they can sign up to run a node. And then, as Matthew had already mentioned, in the next couple of months this summer, we're going to be running 2 testnets, where we will have 2 million data coins in prices. So people can also get rewards for running a node. And so if they sign up, then we'll let them know once it's ready.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I have few questions, right? Like, in India, there is a huge what do you say? There is, like, there's a lot of people, and there is a lot of data, right? So how can, like, Streamer and Indians work together to either make money or utilize their data in a better way? Or, like, you know, what are the use cases you see for India is the question.
We recently ran a hackathon in India, and a lot of good ideas came from that. One of the one of the strong ideas that made it into the finalists of the hackathon was the concept of farmers joining a data union, collecting data from their crops, and being able to sell that as a secondary stream. Of course, the primary stream being the actual crops and what they're farming, but they're also kind of farming this data. And
wow,
this is interesting because one, they can get paid for it, but two, just as a sort of intrinsic value of collecting all this interesting farming data, that can be plugged into machine learning, and insights can be taken from that data, and basically they can start to predict how the crops will perform. And when they know how the crops will perform in say 3 months or 6 months, that suddenly becomes quite interesting to banks as well, because they go, I see, this farm is going to have a great yield. I think I can, we feel more comfortable lending you more money now. So there's like these secondary effects of collecting data in consistent and aggregated ways that are not immediately obvious, but certainly have value to everybody. So creating these ecosystems is kind of front and center to us, and creating these fair data economies, I think is such a great opportunity for India to get involved at the ground level and create, it won't be that much money, but it will be something. It'll be the start of a universal income kind of subsidized by your data. And I find that vision quite compelling for the future.
I agree. And like, I personally am a big fan of universal basic income. And I think a lot of crypto projects are working towards it in some or the other way, which they even don't realize, right? So it's very wholesome to hear that. So I have a question for both of you. I think Marlene can take this first, and then we'll move to Mathew. What do you think about India and the Indian blockchain ecosystem? What do you see? What are your thoughts?
I think I'm really impressed with the projects which are coming from there, like, for example, Ethereum push notification service or Matic/Polygon. I think that's really cool. Like, I hadn't known when I heard first about these projects that they're from India, and then I was kind of quite surprised, because I think, like, originally most of the crypto projects are more like from the US or Europe. And actually now it seems like it's like such a hotbed for like really cool crypto projects, which are super successful, get like big VC funding, and have like really cool backers behind them. So yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Mathew?
Yeah, I guess like instead of maybe looking at the project level, I kind of just noticed the momentum coming from India is quite surprising. You don't see that in other countries. Like, I'm from Australia, and I don't see too many Australian crypto companies or the similar kind of interest. But with India, you have to go, oh wow, yeah, a lot of these great projects are coming from India, and a lot of our communities comes from India. The developers are quite interested in kicking the tires of the tech. You see like a lot of enthusiasm coming from India, and that just it's what's going on over there? Why are you guys so interested?
I think it's just like most of us are extremely curious, and all our life we've been told what not to do, right? And this, I could be completely wrong, right? I could be just talking about a certain place of privilege I am coming from, or people like me. So most Indian parents are like, hey, you need to do these traditional things. You need to become a doctor. You need to become an engineer, a traditional, and or you need to get a government job, and that's the framework you're part of. But again, right? Like as you're growing up, you are like, no, man, I will do completely exactly opposite of what you're saying. And I will prove it to you that, like, we can still do it. And we pick up things very easily because like there is so much nuances in our culture, and everything is so different. So it's very easy to understand what's happening. So that's why I think there's a lot of developer ecosystem. Like, you can, in even in tech, right? Like the best thing is there are no gatekeepers, right? Like if I want to build a project, I go, I learn Python or PHP, and I just start coding. And hey, this is the prototype. And if it's good, people start using it. But if you look at in a traditional framework, hey, I want to become something, right? Then there are gatekeepers. People ask, what's your name? What's your background? What does your father do? And all these things are very restrictive in participating in normal economy, which tech has like, just killed it, right? Because there are no gatekeepers. So that's why I think a lot of Indians are very much attracted towards doing whatever they want and the autonomy they have. So
yeah, I love that. I love that crypto has this rebellious
yeah,
energy at
yeah,
at its core.
yeah,
And
yeah.
me personally, as I've been an entrepreneur as well in the Web 2 days, and crypto thinks it's invented the rug pull, but I'm sorry, but Google, Facebook, they are the OGs of rug pulling, because if you build a product that they don't like, they cut off the API. They
Yeah,
find ways to crush you. This is the monopolies that we are
fighting.
completely
Yeah.
obliterating in
Uh-huh.
this Web3 space. So yeah, I love that story, and I think India has a very bright future.
Yeah, that's good to know. So, guys, I would want to understand, like, how do people listening to this show, and how do Indians participate in the Streamer Network? What can they do?
They can join our testnet, which will be probably coming in August this year. So they'll be participating in getting rewards for contributing their data. So contributing their bandwidth. So they will be mining their bandwidth, and they can join a data union as well. So they can contribute their data. So they can join a Swash. There's many other data unions in the pipeline. So keep an eye on our blog and our Twitter, and you can join them early, and get great rewards for them.
Awesome, awesome. Marlene, would you like to add a few words before we close this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think another thing which they can obviously do is building on our stack, so they can build their own data union, or they can integrate our network into their project if they have any real-time data needs. So yeah.
That's awesome, guys. It was lovely talking to you guys, and
Likewise.
I'm really excited to see what you guys are doing, because uh, like it's the need of the hour, because a lot of people come during the bull markets, they try to build, like how you said, and they go away. And you guys have been here, you've been building in the bear market, and now the test net, and then the main net. So I'm extremely excited to see what you guys are gonna do.
Oh yeah, we're in it for the long haul, and
Awesome.
it's going to be an amazing rest of the year, I think. So yeah, super excited for what comes next.